All right, everyone, it's time to talk about Ilhan Omar. Well, not just Ilhan Omar, AOC, Pelosi, and half a dozen other Democrats in the Democratic Party, and how they're actually... It's sort of a gift to the Republicans when some of these people speak. Like with Ilhan Omar. When she makes comments about someone who's Jewish being a white supremacist, it just comes off as odd. And even though technically, in a philosophical sense, you can actually make arguments like that and be like, well, yeah, but it's like out there, whatever, sort of traverse the traditional look at race or ethnicity or something. Ilhan Omar is not the one to do that because, I mean, she's just crazy. It's just like the broken clock effect, when she says something about AIPAC. And it just comes off as like, well, you know, basically, you come off as a jilted fanatic who has certain religious beliefs that probably led to the situation where you're saying such a thing. It's not like someone who knows what they're talking about and they've got like a political axe to grind. It's more of an ideological axe. And when she does and says things that are off the rocker, really, that's just going to end up in a bunch of GOP campaign ads. Like, they're chomping at the bit, waiting for it to get closer to 2020, so they can say take some of the weird shit that AOC and Omar and Tlaib and these people are saying and slap them into ads over and over again, because that's pay dirt. Now, initially, I thought Pelosi was going to be the big one, because traditionally, Pelosi says weird shit anyway. She rankles people, because she's very self-righteous. She's like, well, I'm Queen Valkyrie here, and I'm going to run the show. AOC has actually gone off her rocker and is trying to supplant, like, the Pelosi Democrats. Oh, we're not giving you a choice, she says to the President of the United States as she tweets about his tax returns, not realizing the hilarious irony of saying, well, the Twitterer-in-chief, haha, that's unpresidential. What do you people do? You're trying to play his game. You're going to lose. If you play the game that somebody else has invented, typically you're not going to do well, or it's going to take you a very long time to sort of find your footing. And even then, you know, even odds say that you lose more than half the time anyway. So they're trying to play checkers, and he's playing 4D chess, and they get, like, angry and stuff. And then they make weird references, they say weird shit, and the other Republicans benefit. And it's very funny, because some of those Republicans are basically Democrats, but they're still, like, praising Trump. You know, like a Jeff Flake. Jeff Flake comes out and says, well, Trump's not a good person. I can't really be a Republican. I hope a Democrat wins. There might come a time at which he regrets saying such things for political reasons. Oh, I want to get back in office, but now all of a sudden nobody wants me, because the Democrats will implode and they'll jettison that far-left movement, probably. And the right wing has reformed around populism, so there's no party for old neocons, I suppose you could say at this point. And it's probably a good thing for the country, since, you know, they're responsible for every other war we've ever been in. Rather sad how many people they've killed. It's like they might as well just become communists if they're so butcherous. If you want to kill hundreds of millions of people, just fucking wear a hammer and sickle and fucking put on your beret and call yourself one of Mao's children or something. Don't try to pretend that you're capitalistic when you believe in basically socialism light anyway. Ilhan Omar, though, oh my god, I mean, when she what was it, Miller there, whoever she was trying to criticize, it became instantly viral. And that's the other point about modern politics, actually, that we need to make, is that it's totally different than it was even like 10 years ago. Even 10 years ago, you have the modern internet, Facebook's there, YouTube's there, and Twitter, ironically, was there, but I didn't know it existed at the time. It came out of nowhere and then crashed and burned, and they're in decline now. Things weren't as instantaneous as they are now. Things weren't as mobile, things weren't as fast, they weren't as simplified. They certainly, like YouTube at the time, still had buffering problems, which it occasionally has now because they keep trying to destroy their own website, but otherwise for a long time has been really good. And so even 10 years ago with the semi-modern internet, it wasn't the same as things are now. If you made like a post and it was something dumb and you took it down, maybe it disappeared, or kind of, and people would ignore it. Now it's like it becomes front page news within 10 seconds. I mean, there are people who literally lurk on the Twitter pages of some of the more popular political and news figures out there, literally waiting. They probably have bots on it that automatically archive everything that they post, just so that if it's removed 10 seconds later, they've still got a hot scoop. Like the Krasensteins, don't you think they bought a little bit in regards to Trump's Twitter account? Oh, I'm sure that they do. Considering the speed with which they invariably show up, at the very least, they've got alerts on and their phones are on 24/7, and like at least one of them is awake at any given time, just to fucking make sure with access to both accounts or something. Maybe they delegate that authority. Maybe they have like a staff or like some underling, like a little Igor that wanders around their house with a smartphone and has access to the accounts. Yes, master. It'd be so funny. Ilhan Omar is the gift that keeps on giving. And this is really great because there are other oddballs now in politics. Like, let's say Trump loses. I don't expect him to, like, I still think there's like at least an 85-90% chance he wins because there's nobody in the Democratic field that is particularly impressive. Lord help them if it's Joe Biden becoming the nominee, and it still very well might happen. Or Bernie Sanders, who might stroke out on stage. The dude is 77 fucking years old. Give me a break. But let's say that he does. The news media has a problem then. They can't tabloid about Trump anymore. Oh my god, they need to inject themselves with some tabloid spew fucking gossip rag heroin because they're addicts now. He got them addicted to being tabloids. They're like the Weekly World News or the Inquirer now, like the CNNs and the Fox Newses. What are they going to talk about? They're going to have to find other things to complain about and other things to be fearmongers about. And other things to occasionally praise that are bad ideas. So, you know, then the next administration might start a war, and then they can pretend that they were against it before they were for it. Otherwise, they're going to have to talk about people like Ilhan Omar. Yeah, these people might actually have some degree of staying power just because they're such punching bags for the other side, for the GOP. And the GOP normally is like, politically, their strategies are inept, and they're kind of cringy and act outdated and say weird shit. And now it's the Democrats. Like Beto, he looks like a Republican 10 years ago, basically. He looks and acts like a Bush Republican. And he's all sorts of fucked up, and he says fucked up shit, and he's going to keep saying it. But that might, oddly enough, keep him in politics just because the tabloids want him in the limelight. They'll set him up, and then they'll set him up for failure and let these people collapse themselves, and then they'll gleefully report on it. They like to do that even to people that are quite nice and personable. They do it to every other rock star. They certainly do it to the alt media constantly. They're constantly, oh, this person built a new app, ha ha ha, but they're actually racist, stuff like that. That's about all. Peace out.